to the channel. Thank you so much for once again joining me for tea time. Today, we're coming to the end of a little bit of Misty Morning and Focus combination. So good, guys. That bergamot. I love bergamot. Anyways, I hope you're joining me with your cup of tea or possibly a cup of coffee or maybe something harder. Depends on what part of the planet you're on. Today we're going to be talking about a brand new flagship from Nikon. We were speculating this was to happen before the Olympics, and it has, just like Sony and most likely Canon very soon. They are producing their mirrorless, massive, full-frame, professional-based cameras. And these cameras are not small. A lot of people always say, oh, it's a mirrorless camera, so it's smaller. Yeah, no, it is a big-ass camera that doesn't have a mirror. Anyways, we'll get into that in just a second. This looks really, really quite interesting if the specs, the reported specs, are correct. Anyways, before I get into it, I want to say that if you haven't downloaded my ebook as of yet, go check it out over at JCristina.com/ebook. Once again, JCristina.com/ebook. 10 tips at making tack sharp images. There's something there for everyone. Doesn't matter if you're a professional, a pro-am, or an amateur. Go pick it up. It is free. That's right, free. JCristina.com/ebook. So, let me get into a press release first, because this is what everyone has been talking about. This is like all the clamor. Everything is about this press release that Nikon put out on the 9th, which was, I believe, yesterday now. Anyways, let's read through it, and then we're going to go into some of the specs and talk about it a little bit, because it is interesting. Everyone has been poo-pooing on Nikon for so long. When I see this, it's like, thank God. Thank God. Maybe this will be like the next D850 that just blows up. We'll see. Anyways, let's look into this press release. It says, Nikon Incorporated is pleased to announce the development of the first flagship model for which the Nikon Z mount has been adopted, the Nikon Z9. Now, I thought this was going to be a Z1 forever, right? Just like Sony says Alpha 1, just like most likely Canon will call it a Canon R1, but they didn't. They went with the Z9. That's cool. Anyways, let's continue. The full-frame Nikon FX mirrorless camera is scheduled for release in 2021 and represents a significant leap in technology and performance. The Z9 brings together Nikon's groundbreaking technologies to deliver the best still and video performance in Nikon history, meeting the advanced needs of professionals in a wide range of genres. It utilizes a newly developed FX format stacked CMOS sensor and new image processing engine. In response to the growing needs of professionals, advanced enthusiasts, and cinematographers, it includes support for 8K video recording as well as other video specifications that fulfill diverse needs and workflows. The Z9 embodies ultimate usability as a tool, offering users an unprecedented imaging experience from capture to workflow exceeding that of previous DSLR and mirrorless cameras. What they're saying here is it's going to be better than a D6. Moving on. Information regarding the release of this product will be announced at a later date. For more information about current Nikon products, including the Nikon Z series camera line and Nikon Z lens lineup, please visit NikonUSA.com. So, that's the press release that everyone's been clamoring about, and it sounds fantastic, right? It sounds fabulous. And like I indicated, they're stating that this will surpass, most likely is what they're saying, the D6. So, this will be that new flagship, but it'll be in a mirrorless body in comparison to a DSLR body. Like I said, this body is a big-ass body, and I'll get to that in just a second. So it's not like it's shrinking, okay? It's just removing a mirror along with a couple of other things. Now, let's get into some of these rumored specs. A lot of these are going to be accurate at this point, so I'm going to go through them. I feel pretty confident. Now, as far as the image processor, we know that it's an FX image processor, it's CMOS, and we know that it's stacked. It's a stacked image processor. We don't know the size, 40, 50, 60. I'm going to speculate it will most likely be 50 or 51 megapixels, just like we see in the Sony Alpha 1. Why? Because it's ripped out of the Sony Alpha 1. That's my personal opinion. We will see if that comes to pass or not. Now, the ISO capabilities here is kind of odd. It says that it has a 64 ISO to 25,600 ISO. That seems really low when it comes to ISO, but it says also that it has better SNR, better dynamic range. SNR, which is your signal to noise ratio. So even though that ISO is low, they're saying that it has amazing SNR or amazing dynamic range. So we'll see what ends up happening with that and when it comes to low light. But bear in mind, these type of cameras, this would be if you're a Canon guy akin to like a 1D or a Nikon guy, a D6 or whatever. So these are professional-based cameras, full-body, massive cameras that are most likely or a lot of times used for capturing sports. Okay, action. And this happens usually during the day or with big bright lights. So do we need, 2 million ISO? Probably not. But we'll see what ends up happening with that. Also, it says that it has an integrated vertical grip. Now that gets back to what I was saying before. It's a big ass camera. All right? It doesn't have a battery grip that you can just attach. It's included, just like a 1D or just like the Sony or just like the D6 or whatever. It's a big camera, a massive camera minus the mirror. That's basically it. Now, as far as continuous capture or continuous shooting, this is something that a lot of people look at because, once again, this is a professional sports-based camera. Okay, yeah, you could use it for fashion, a lot of other things, but a lot of people will use this for sports and action and whatnot. Now, the capture rate is going to be continuous of 20 FPS, so 20 frames per second, which is good. I mean, it's not groundbreaking, and at 50 megapixels, let's say, that is not bad. I would like to have seen 30 out of it, considering it is brand new, but 20 seems to be what it's at. We'll see. Remember, these specs are malleable, okay? They're not set in stone as of yet. Also, video recording. This is where they get into 8K. We knew that the camera would have to do 8K, but Sony's doing 8K, Canon's doing 8K. I mean, we have to have 8K in this thing. If not, people would just be like, what the heck happened to Nikon? Right? So it will have 8K at 30 frames per second, 4K at 120, 60, 30, whatever you want at 4K. Who knows? Maybe even 1080p at 240. We don't know because that's not indicated as of yet. Now, it will also do 16-bit RAW, is my understanding. Most likely will have to be put into like an external recorder. I doubt it's going to be 16-bit RAW internal, but they could do it if they throw 2 processors in it and just get crazy with the X-Speed processing unit in there. That leads me into X-Speed. Now, the X-Speed processor that is handling everything is going to be brand spanking new, and it has to be. Why? Because it needs to handle all the data that's required for 8K. That's simply it. 8K is a lot. It needs to be faster, more powerful, more robust, and be able to get a ton of data through that pipeline. And that's what they're doing here with this brand new X-Speed. Now, they also say that it will have improved AF, improved autofocus. Now, that has to do with object detection as well as object tracking. I would imagine eye tracking and everything else. So it will be bumped up when it comes to this camera, and hopefully so, especially when you're tracking race cars or motorcycles or people in the Olympics. We'll get into that in just a second. It will also have dual card slots. So those dual card slots, of course, will be XQD or, if you want, CF Express card slots, but it will be dual. You would have to have it. Obviously, those would be Type B. Now, when it comes to the EVF, it has to have a good EVF, right? It absolutely is imperative. Now, we don't know exactly what EVF is going to be in it. As far as megapixels, there's been speculation of 5 megapixels, 6 megapixels, and whatnot. The hertz would probably be like around 120, your frame, your FPS, let's say, so that it's really smooth. I'm going to speculate the EVF will be similar to what's in the Sony Alpha 1. The Sony Alpha 1 has like 9.4 megapixels, I think, which is a ton. They're going to be using Sony sensor anyways in it. Why don't you use a similar EVF that gets you right around that area of 9 megapixels also, maybe 8, something like that. I can't see them putting a 5 megapixel EVF in it, but we'll see what ends up happening. Now, as far as blackout, there is said to be 0 blackout on this camera, and that would be imperative. If you're going to be replacing your flagship, your Nikon D6, you're going to have a EVF that has 0 blackout, or relatively 0 blackout. And that's what they said that they're doing. They're also going to be upgrading the battery in it. They would need to, right? You're going to do 8K for an extended period of time. You'd be going through those batteries like crazy, like chiclets, popping them into your mouth or popping them into your camera. So yes, it will most likely have that better battery or that upgraded battery. It's almost imperative that it does. Also, what was stated is they will not have that secondary screen, the little LCD that's on the back of the D6, which I find interesting. So how they're going to manipulate things, I don't know, but it's supposed to have a new kind of structure, user interface to it. So we'll see what happens with that. Also, we'll see, of course, a complete plethora of connectivity as you would expect. So you'd have your gigabit LAN connectivity, you have USB-C, most likely for data as well as charging. You'll have your Wi-Fi and of course GPS built into it. It will have to have all of that, and I'm sure it will. So someone will say, well, Joe, how much is it? Well, the price is not in stone once again as of yet. Rumors have it anywhere from $5,000, $6,000, $7,000. I look at it simply as this. The Sony Alpha 1 is $6,500. This camera, the Z9, will be $6,500 or thereabouts, okay? Give or take $500 one way or another, it's going to be $6,500. That's just simply it, in my personal opinion. Now, the release date is said to be around fall of 2021. And it kind of makes sense. They were saying that the Z9 will be in a prototype form at the Tokyo Olympics next year. I think that's obviously going to be the case. We've talked about this forever. I said that Sony will have that flagship out there, which they do now. Canon will have like an R1 for the Olympics. Here we have Nikon with their R1, let's say equivalent, which is a Z9 to them, which is their D6 replacement on the mirrorless side. So I don't think that it's going to be there as a prototype. I think that we will see full-blown units at the Olympics. I can't see them prototyping a unit for such a massive event. I think it would be stupid. All right. When you have other manufacturers coming in with full-blown units that are currently working with no sputters, right, with no problems, and doing last-minute overnight firmware updates because something is broken and the Olympics are starting the next day, you can't have that. All right. That would lead to a big, major issue. So I don't think we'll see that. I think we'll see, like I said, you have the Alpha 1, you'll see the R1 at the Olympics, you're going to see the Z9 at the Olympics, and they'll shoot it out and see how they come out and see what, you know, all of the fanboys say about it that will be using them at the Olympics. So we'll see what ends up going on with that. Now, also, I've read somewhere that people were saying that, or describing the Nikon Z9 as like the embodiment of like a D6 combined with a Canon EOS R5 for their imaging, as well as like a Sony Alpha 9 Mark II for their AF and blackout-free EVF. I don't know. That sounds like pie in the sky, you know, pushing all that into one camera. But honestly, it's possible. Nikon can do it. I don't put anything past them. Like I've said, a lot of people have been poo-pooing on Nikon for months and months. We know that they're in, let's say, underwater when it comes to profitability. Their profits are down $700 million for the fiscal year ending in March of 2021, which is not stellar, but we also know that they sold some stock that brought them in almost $200 million there. So, you know, they're getting it together, all right? There's no recalls as of late. Their Z6s and Z7s haven't sold as much as they thought that they would. That being said, prior to that, their D850 crushed it. They made a ton of money. They're still making a ton of money on that camera. I feel like Nikon's had a lot of problems when it comes to having the product out there, allowing people to buy it. There's been a lot of shortages, back orders. Now, of course, people would be like, you have the whole virus thing and things were, off for an entire year. We're now like a year into this. So yes, that is an issue, but other camera manufacturers are not having as much of an issue when it comes to getting the cameras to market. So what that is probably that reorganization that's happening over there, that movement of plants, facilities, closing down some stuff in Japan, blah, yada, yada, yada. There's a lot that goes into it, okay? And now, just yesterday I reported, now they have that office of the president that they created, and they're just deleting a whole bunch of different divisions. So there's a lot going on with Nikon. So to see them come out with this flagship, or let's say about to come out with this flagship, is definitely awesome. Okay, it's going to help them a lot. The one thing that they have to do is they have to be on par, equal or better to Sony and Canon, number one. They cannot have any recalls. Okay, number two, it's imperative. If they have a recall on this camera, it's like game over. All right, just like I told you with Olympus, when they came out with their $3,000 micro four thirds, I said, that's it. That's a nail in the coffin. 6 months gone. All right, and that's exactly what happened. So they need to, I said the same thing when Nikon came out with the D850. I said this cannot have all of those recall issues of the past. If it does, it's going to be a major problem for Nikon. It didn't. And like I said, they sold a ton of them. So anyways, guys, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think about the Z9? All right. Do you think that this is going to be just a big lift for Nikon, or do you think it might not? Some people say that it will, because now the lower cost cameras will get some of that technology in them. Whereas other people say that since this is going to be such an expensive camera, sitting at, let's call it, as I say, $6,500, there's not going to be as many people purchasing it besides the pros. So they're not going to make a ton of money. So how that helps their bottom line, I don't know. Okay, I'll let you be the judge. You let me know what you think. So once again, I thank you for being here. I thank you for sharing your cup of tea, your cup of coffee with me. If you have not subscribed to the channel as of yet, please do so. Also, if you so desire, click this little bell icon here. So whenever I go live, or if I come out with a new video, you will be notified of it immediately. Let's have this discussion in the comment area below this video. And then after, head over to our creative Discord server over at community.JCristina.com. Once again, community.JCristina.com. There's thousands of people over there now that are on our creative Discord server, talking tech, talking video, photo, all kinds of stuff. Go check it out. It's definitely worth seeing, and it is free. Talking about free, if you enjoy this content, once again, download my ebook. I have a great ebook put together for you, 10 tips at making tack sharp images. You can find it over at jcristina.com/ebook. If you want to contribute to the channel, click this little join button right around here. You can become a member of the channel. I can give you perks. You can provide $1, $2, whatever you want per month to help out the channel. That would be much appreciated. And finally, head over to my website, JCristina.com, where you can find all the photography tools that I've invented for you and me over the years, and hopefully there's something there that you might like. And if there is, please pick it up and support me and my family. That would be absolutely awesome. And don't forget to use promo code YT20 at checkout. Once again, promo code YT20 at checkout, and you'll get 20% off everything in your shopping cart. If you can't pick up my products over on my website, jcristina.com, you can head over to B&H Photo and Video and grab them, or Amazon.com, or just about any small retailer, photography shop on the planet. A lot of them have my products. Anyways, that's it. Once again, many blessings to you and your family. Stay safe and stay healthy.